Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Real Deal, where I don't come at you with what ifs. I come at you with the truth, the real truth, 110,000% truth. You see all these media sites and things like that. They say, could this be, or what if? No, I'm telling you the truth. Everything I come at you with is 100,000,000,000% fact. It's the truth. I research it myself. I dig deep. I know a lot of people. I'm not playing. I'm trying to change the world, trying to make people wake up, which many won't, and many won't do anything if they do wake up. But the whole point of this is be alert. It's not a conspiracy theory if it's true. I'm running out of conspiracy theories because they're all coming true. So today I'm coming at you with mainstream media, or as I like to call it, lamestream media. Because the way things are going in this country, in the United States, man, I've never seen it so easy to brainwash people as it is now. And there are some serious puppets out there. I used to say that people were ignorant, but now I just say they're dumb. Honestly, I think there are some really stupid, dumb, selfish people out there. And this is nothing new, but it's just getting worse on a daily basis. The media has been controlling the masses forever, and it's run by the higher-ups. And you don't even know who the real leaders of this country are. We have President Trump in there. There's people above him he's got to answer to. There's people at the top. We won't even know who they are. And personally, I don't want to know who they are because I'm sure they're horrible, evil people with a very bad agenda. But back in the day when there was no media like radio and television and things like that, everything was word of mouth. And you would get the kings and the queens and the emperors and the empresses would put out edicts throughout the communities, and they would stand on the street corner and they would read the stuff and they would tell you what was going on. And of course, most people believed it because they didn't know how to research it. The only way you could is go right to the source, and to do that, you'd probably get killed. And even then, sometimes the sources might have an agenda. You know, they might not want you to know it. Sometimes people will tell you something way far off to get you going somewhere else in another direction, to keep you away from the real truth. They know what they're doing. And this has been going on for thousands of years. It's how they control people. They control people through all kinds of means, whether it's back in the day with the amphitheaters, today with the sporting events. Look at all the people that are divided over sports teams. They'll kill each other. They'll fight each other just because their sports team's different than them. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? But this is nothing new. And this has been going on for a long time. And you got to ask yourself, why? Why? Who benefits from this? And why? That's a good question. And I'm going to tell you today. And I'm going to tell you the United States of America is corrupt more than ever right now than it was back in the day when the Founding Fathers started this country. The Founding Fathers were not perfect. I'm going to go off on that one day. They all had their flaws. I mean, shoot, man. Washington married for money and owned 300 slaves. Jefferson had a slave community. I mean, come on, they weren't perfect. But back then, Britain controlled America, and they would tell you this, that, and the other, and you had to believe it. And most people wouldn't. But there were a lot of people back then that loved Britain and everything they said. Finally, people woke up. And even then, some said, nope, I liked Britain better. Our country, our media, it's one of the worst. One of the worst. I don't even know what to say. But when I grew up, I always wondered how Germany, such a civilized, sophisticated country, could be so overthrown with the propaganda that came out. And in 1933, when the Nazis took control, they didn't take control just of the country. They took control of the mainstream media. They would shut down anybody that would stand up to them, probably killed them, but they would shut them down, or they'd take control of it. And this is what they would tell you. They would tell you, this is our way. Believe us. They put Joseph Goebbels. I always get those, him and Goering, I always get mixed up. They're both evil. Anyway, they made him the propaganda manager. And he called radio the eighth wonder of the world. Because they'd get on there and they broadcast stuff, and everybody listened to it and goes, yeah, this is true, this is true. They believe it. And they took over all the media. And they said it was essential to control the masses. They had to control everybody. And that's how they did it. Through radio, because TV wasn't around yet. And they do it through the media, the printing of the magazines and stuff. Heck, they even had board games. They had board games they came out, which were against the Jews. It was like a Monopoly game where you got rid of all the Jews out of the country. I'm not exaggerating on this, people. Look it up. It's real. And it's BS. And I stand by that today. But see, Goebbels believed in what they called the big lie, where if you repeat something often enough, the masses will believe it. Because many people, even if they're educated, they will believe certain people. They will believe certain parties. Like in today's America with political parties. People don't vote for people anymore. They vote party lines. They don't go in there and say, oh, I'm going to vote for this guy, this guy, this guy. They go down there and they hit that switch, party line. And they don't even know who they're voting for most of the time. You know, I tell you all the time, people would vote certain parties for Hitler, even knowing what he did, because he's a member of their party. And then they go after the other party and say, look what he's doing. But if he did it in your party, it'd be okay. That's a big problem, and that's how stupid people are. Goebbels said, with the big lie, you repeat it enough, people will believe it. And he also said that the radio was the eighth great power of the universe. Why? Because they used it so much. The media isn't there to it entertains you, but they're there to control you, people. The United States is not innocent. They just did it in a different way. There was, you all heard of this Project Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird. It started way, way back when it was not the CIA back then. It was the Office of Strategic Services was before the CIA. And what they did is they would put their officers, their people, in the media. They would write articles. They would get on the radio and they would repeat total lies. They would repeat them whether it was about the war coming up or even after the fact when it was the CIA, the Cold War. They would repeat it so much. And they got caught. The CIA got caught in the 70s. It got blown wide open. And they would, here's the thing. The CIA is not allowed to operate on American soil. That is a federal law. They are not allowed to do anything here. They are in charge of operations overseas. That's their job. But they don't follow the rules, do they? And they don't have to. And that's the CIA for you. They said about 40 to 100 people were confirmed. And they had the names of all these people that were confirmed in working for the media that were in the CIA. They were getting paid by the CIA. They were getting paid by the radio stations. They were getting paid by the newspapers. They were making good money back then. But there was way more than that. And they got caught. Now, all countries have done this. I mean, you got a lot of countries where the government controls all the media. So, who controls all the media in America? Anybody know? Think about it for a minute. How many companies control the majority of the American media? 5 companies. There's 5 companies that control American mass media. Now, the CIA, when they were with Operation Mockingbird, Project Mockingbird, CIA is corrupt as can be. I don't care what anyone says. Then you have no such agency, which you never hear about, the NSA. But they were doing wiretapping. They were tapping people, competition, anybody they thought was a threat to them. And they use, of course, we got to tap this guy's stuff because he's a threat to American freedom. No, he's a threat to the people that are running American freedom. Let me say that again. They are threats to the people in charge with all the power, and they don't want anybody to speak out and they don't want anybody to stand up. They want to keep you down, and that's why most people do, because they're scared. They were wiretapping all kinds of people for years. JFK authorized it. JFK approved it back in his day, and they were controlling the media. And, you know, they worked. People say CIA killed Kennedy. Nah, they worked with him. He did a lot of good stuff for them. You know, they've been. It's just horrible. It's just horrible how, you know, and we'll never know who killed JFK. Tune in on November 22nd. I'll tell you. But anyway, 5 companies. They own all the American media. Not all of it, but a majority of it, I should say. And the 2 biggest owners are Jeff Bezos and Rupert Murdoch. Bezos owns a lot. He owns the Washington Post. And Bezos is the Amazon owner. And I'm not a fan. You know, people talk about, well, he started selling stuff out of his garage. He made it from his own. Yeah, sure. He made it on his own, selling stuff out of a garage that he owned a house on as a young man, I should say, with a $300,000 gift from his daddy. I think if I had $300,000 gift, I'd be able to make something of myself too when I'm 20 years old. So don't make it sound like this guy struggled and came up with a great idea. What he's done is taken over a lot of companies and put people under. That's how he controls things. So Bezos controls the Washington Post. And do you think they're going to ever print anything in there against Amazon or any of the companies he owns? No. That's why these guys buy that stuff. If you put an article today out there and said, oh, yeah, you know, if, let's say Random Media put an article out there and it was all over, billions of people were seeing it, millions and billions of people, and they were believing it, they'd be in there. It's like, hey, we're going to buy your company. And they're going to either buy you and shut you down, or you're fired and we're going to control it. That's what they do. The American mainstream media, as far as I'm concerned, are freaking Nazis. They're doing the same thing the Nazis did. And I don't like it. And that's why I don't get attached to the mainstream media. I don't trust them. If you want to find out something, you got to research it. Or listen to me. Because I'll tell you the truth. You know that. And you ask, where do I find my stuff out? Well, I'm not going through the mainstream media, that's for sure. I'm not going on Fakepedia. You know Wikipedia? One of the founders doesn't like it. He says he wishes he never started it because it's corrupt and it's full of lies and it's brainwashing people. And he regrets doing that. I agree with him. That's why I call it Fakepedia. So these 5 companies... Oh, let's go back to Bezos. I'm sorry. Bezos, owner of the Washington Post, would love to shut down the post office or take them over, because they spend billions of dollars a year giving the postal service extra work. Post office makes a net profit of about $4 to $5 billion a year off of Amazon. They spend probably $10 billion a year to the post office for all the work they do, because you've got to cover everything. But post office is making good money off that. God bless the post office. They're the best. Anyway, Bezos put an article in the Washington Post that said that Donald Trump says he's going to privatize the post office. Everybody got fired up. There were people that said, good. There were people fired up. Post office was fired up because it wasn't true. It wasn't even close to being true. Donald Trump never said that. The Washington Post printed it, and every other media outlet, about 90% of them in this country, jumped on the bandwagon. And pretty soon, everybody at the post office was scared of the privatization. And that's the damage the media can do. Because if the post office privatized, Bezos would buy it and control it. He'd have more control of door-to-door delivery. And that's what he wants. And that's what the media does. They want to control everybody. You know? It's horrible. And that's what's going on today. They want everybody controlled. They want everybody brainwashed. They want you to buy this, sell this, invest in this. Do what they say. That's what they want, everybody. RFK Jr., he said in the last election that he said Operation Mockingbird's alive and well. ABC News one time said, well, it's not like they'll tell the truth. It's like, what? And they're trying to change history. Once they change history, it's so easy to believe. the artificial intelligence out there, it's just horrible on what's going on with this world today. There are companies, they're buying everybody up. And that is a huge, huge violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Now, that came out in 1890. And what that does is, it was after the war between the states. Let me give you a little history here. And this guy, Sherman, a politician, I believe he was from Ohio, he saw all these big companies buying all the little companies out, because slavery was run on both sides by the North and South, by the big corporations. You know, slaves were not cheap. I mean, you had to have money, and the banks like Wells Fargo, Bank of America, got their start funding slavery. That's why I don't deal with these companies. I got a long list of companies I don't deal with. It's hard for me to shop or invest or do anything. But anyway, there's some righteous companies out there. You just got to look hard and figure it out. But anyway, so he saw these big companies buying up the little mom and pops, put them out of business. And they would go and they'd buy these companies and shut them down because it was their competition. And he said, no, you cannot form a monopoly. And he went out there and he came up with this, and it was almost unanimous. I believe there was one person voted against it. But it prohibits monopolies and agreement that restrains trade and harms the competition. Senator John Sherman came up with that. And they started cracking down. And there was one president that cracked down harder than any of them. And that was President Teddy Roosevelt, the trust buster. He actually started enforcing the laws and breaking up all these monopolies. And that's why he didn't get reelected, because they didn't like that very well. But you've got just a few companies that are controlling almost everything now. And they're buying each other up. And they're buying the competition, and they're shutting them down. And that's a violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. But who's going to stop them? The politicians who are paid off? Do you know if I go and speak to my representative, I've got to give a campaign contribution to him? And let's say I'm going in for a shipping agency. Here's my $20,000 campaign contribution. Oh, good. I'll listen to you. The competition comes in and gives them $30,000. They send in 4 guys with $20,000. So they've already quadrupled what I paid them. Who you think they're going to go with? Who? And you know what? Campaign contribution, that's all their money. Let's say they've got $1.2 million and they only spent $500,000 to get reelected. They get to keep the rest of that money. They don't give it back. They're all crooks. They're all corrupt. Now, the main companies that own almost everything up, that are buying everybody out, their competition, shutting everybody down. You've got Disney, you've got Amazon, you've got Paramount, Apple, Sony, and News Corp. Those are your top 6 people. And these companies are big time money. Okay, let's start with Apple. As of the end of 2024, Apple worth $3.2 trillion. That's their market cap. That's everybody else. And that's what we know of. It could be more. Now, I personally don't like Steve Jobs. He never paid child support to the woman who had his baby, and he tried to say he was sterile, even though the test said, no, that's your kid. And he's like, I'm not paying. What a rude little bastard. So Apple's number 1. And they buy everybody up. They buy Beats by Dre. They own 32 artificial intelligence startups, including Darwin AI. And that's a big one up in Canada. They own Apple Music, Apple TV. They're big. Their sales are like $500 billion a year. Next, we have Netflix. They're up there too on the list. $290 billion because they have almost 270 billion people subscribing to them. It's almost the whole population of America. I mean, the world, sorry. Walt Disney. They're number 3. We all know the corrupt about Disney. Oy, that man hated Jews, didn't he? That guy, man, a lot of history with Disney. He did a lot of bad things. Yes, he built the amusement parks and he entertained us with Walt Disney World every Sunday night. but there were a lot of bad things he did. He bought people up. He shot them down. He put them out of business. He didn't care. They're worth $181 billion. Now, these are the numbers as of the end of 2024. They'll go up after this year. Comcast is worth $153 billion. They're up there, too. AT&T, $137 billion. Sony, they're $103 billion. You've got other companies in there, too, like Thomson Reuters, $75 billion. Charter, $43 billion. Fox, $15 billion. Paramount, we don't even know. As far as they know right now, they say $7 billion. But I'm sure it's a little more than that. And they make their money from advertisements. What I don't understand is I pay for a TV channel. I'm paying for it. Why do I got to watch an advertisement? I understand if it's free. That's how you make money. Back in my day, you had 3 TV channels. You got commercials for about 2 minutes. Gave you time to get up, get a snack, get to the bathroom. We liked it. But now, man, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. I'm paying $40 a month for this or whatever. I don't even know. And you're showing me a commercial? That ain't right. But these companies, they own internet. They own film. They own entertainment. They own licensing agreements. And they'll keep you from buying licensing agreements if they don't like you or they don't like your agenda. I know I could never get a licensing agreement for doing what I do, for telling the truth. They don't like that. They don't want that. Most of these are media companies. They operate all kinds of other businesses. They have lobbying services. They do software solutions. They are invested in the stock market. You got to study these people. They own websites. It's horrible, people. It's horrible. They're owning everything. Who owns the media? It's not us. You know, the media in America, let's go back to the beginning now. It's a small cartel of billionaires. You got conglomerates that dominate and control the media landscape. And there's no way out of it. There's no way out of it, people. They call them mergers. They call them acquisitions. No, a lot of times they're takeover. They're concentrating their control over what you see, read, and hear on a daily basis. There's no free press anymore, people. There isn't any free press. You know, the free press died years ago, man. And, you know, most of these places, they don't defend democracy. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. There is a lot of international authoritarianism, and it's awful. These companies don't give a damn about you. They don't care about me. All they care about is their power and their control and their freaking money. That's all they care about, people. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do, right? You going to stay away from it? No, because your favorite TV show, Yellowstone's coming on. You know, you got to watch it. And you're going to pay to watch it. And they know that. See, these companies now, they charge you. And they see, how much can we get for what we used to give them for free? Same with music now. It's awful. You go to work in the morning and you hear the weather on the radio. It's going to be 87 and cloudy today, and it's raining outside while you're driving. I'm like, y'all can't open a window and see this? Come on now. Because that's what they're told to tell you. And then you'll hear people going into work and you'll hear 4 different weather reports. You'll hear something about an election. And they'll say, well, this election happened, this happened. And it's like you'll hear 5 different stories from 4 different people. None of them are true. It's what they heard. I remember the Hawktaw girl. And people were saying that she got fired from her job as a school teacher. And everybody believed it. I think she was only 20 years old. And she worked in a factory. It was real easy to research. And speaking of her, I give her a lot of credit because she knew she was getting her 15 minutes of fame. And she did a lot of good, positive things with the money she was making. So bless her for that. I give her a lot of credit. I know y'all probably remember her. I thought that was funny. I was like, oh, check her out. But that's just an example of how easy it is to manipulate and control everybody's mind and the masses today. And remember this, everybody. You can't spell masses without asses. So don't be an ass. Wake up and fight back. You can fight back. You can. Don't buy into these people. Don't believe the BS they're giving you. Well, I can't say giving you. They're selling it to you. Don't be an ass, people. And don't be a member of the masses. Peace. Wake up. Fight back. Fight the power.